Welcome to the Liquidity Event, a show about all things personal finance with a laser focus on taxes, financial independence, and equity compensation. Hosted by AJ and Shane of Brooklyn FI, each episode will focus on a personal finance topic, some driven by news headlines and sometimes driven by listener questions. And sometimes you'll just get two money nerds rambling about what they think is interesting. Just a quick note before we get started, this podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be considered tax or investment advice.
Hello and welcome to the Liquidity Event. I'm your host, Shane Mason.
And I'm AJ Ayers.
And this is episode 184 being recorded on April 8th, airing April 9th. My birthday's coming up. I was looking at my own birthday here. And it's like, email us your finance questions at liquidityevent@brooklynfi.com and we will answer them live on the air. AJ, how are we doing? You have a wet desk?
I have a wet desk. Yes, I just spilled a entire tall, what do you call this?
Tall glass of water.
Bartender? Tall glass of water. Just spilled a tall drink of water right all over myself and my desk.
It's a Collins glass to answer your question.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Collins glass. I love glassware. You know this about me. But glassware today failed me because I just spilled a full glass trying to stay hydrated all over my keyboard electronics. Luckily, my laptop was out of the way, so that's fine. But anyway.
Nice. Close call.
It is your birthday season, as we call them in my family. When is you're the 19th.
Men have birthdays every
April.
10 years after 30. So, technically my birthday is next week. I'm going to go down to Baja and go into the desert. I'm going to go scuba diving, actually. So hopefully I see a sea lion or a whale or something.
I'm sorry, you're going scuba diving in the desert?
In Baja, yeah. Southern Baja, California. Yeah.
But don't you go scuba diving in the ocean?
Well, yeah, that's fair. In the Sea of Cortez. But yeah.
Okay.
Yes. I'm not doing some sort of experimental diving into like a Dune-esque Fremen style.
That's what I was envisioning. Like,
yeah. The Lisa Nagui, he can dive in the desert, so to speak.
You're gonna see some sandworms and some what else lives in the lemurs or meerkats?
Gosh.
Those other desert dwelling creatures.
Yeah, you have me thinking about Iran. We don't ever talk about politics, but I am glad that we were at a ceasefire with Iran as of last night, and we won't have to delete. What did he say? Kill an entire civilization.
An entire civilization will be wiped out.
Oh, the memes about that are so great. It's like me entering the bar at 2 a.m. I'm sure you've got a good one.
Oh, yeah. Well,
a whole civilization will die. We shouldn't joke about it, but come on. It is.
No, we should not joke. It's quite, yeah. I mean, look, so as an optimist, but a pragmatist and someone who has spent the past, or my entire adult life, like digesting the news, but also working very hard to separate headlines from like my own reality. Anyway, all to say, yesterday, all day, I was like, there's like the threat of nuclear war at 8 p.m. tonight. And I was kind of like, not too worried about it, like kind of watching the news. And then I had dinner with two friends and their like level of anxiety was like pretty high. Like we had a 7:30 dinner reservation. The nuclear threat was for 8 p.m. Eastern, right? And so we're like sitting in this restaurant and I can tell my friends are like visibly like a little bit nervous. And they're like, I'm not actually nervous. Like I know what this is, like we'll probably de-escalate, but like I am a little bit nervous that a nuclear strike is about to wipe out New York City. Did you experience that level of anxiety at all?
Oh, no, not at all. No, I don't think anybody could pull that off. New York City? Yeah. That's like the whole point of the United States is that nothing happens here. And it happened once 25 years ago and then we spent
once before that
$100 trillion making sure it never happens again.
Well, it did happen once before, but it was a little further out. So,
what do you mean?
Pearl Harbor.
Oh, yeah, yeah. But that was that was some battleships off the coast of Hawaii. Yeah. Well, the whole nuclear, and that was pre-nukes. Yeah. No, I hear you. No, I do. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to be in New York City. I think DC would actually be the more appropriate place to nuke if you were going to nuke the United States, because that's where all of the military command. Because if you nuke New York, it's just a bunch of civilians, and then goodbye to your civilization, right? So, yeah, I don't know how to think about that. And the entire point of the CIA, NSA, the whole military construct is to make sure that we know where every drop of uranium is in the entire world. So I think it would be tough to sneak that in and detonate it, especially an enriched one. But yeah, of course, you can have anxiety. Yeah, it's Brooklyn.
Yeah,
it's home, the home of anxiety.
I've seen the world capital of anxiety. Actually, I'm gonna put that on a shirt and start selling them.
Yeah, I think that would sell.
I need more side hustles.
Yeah.
What's the I think the current Brooklyn motto is like, Brooklyn, forget about it, or something, like when you go over the bridge and it's like, mayor or whatever, and borough president, whatever his name is, Marty Muckowitz or whatever his name is, but now it's going to say Brooklyn, world capital of anxiety. That's my platform for council member of whatever district I'm in. I don't know.
Yeah, no, the Italian culture of New York City has diminished quite a bit. I do miss. It is a throwback, that sign that says "forget about it," but I don't think I've ever heard a guy say "forget about it." I lived there 10 years. I don't think I heard the quintessential.
Honestly, one of the best things about living in New York
There's no
City
articles this week, by the way, everybody. We're just gonna talk. We're gonna talk through.
Oh yeah, we're just gonna shoot the shit. Yeah. There's no news at all related to tech or anything.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things about living in New York City is when you encounter someone who has a true New York accent, like a true Long Island accent. And my favorite thing is when it's a child and it's like a cute little like girl and she's like, sorry, ma, like, and it just makes me so happy that like accents and regional dialects are still alive and well in the age of AI. That's my
as the world becomes more and more homogenous, and the differences between, there's a Brooklyn in every large city and they have the same natural wine shops and the same bistros and record stores, etc. Like, and from Morocco to Vancouver down to Johannesburg, it is refreshing but alarming to encounter the actual local culture, like a dickhead in France, in Paris, or an Italian in New York, or going into Ireland and seeing people getting wasted on Guinness. Like, it's become more and more homogenous across the country as the world is conglomerate. Yeah, you get what I'm saying.
I get what you're saying.
I'm going to be in Athens soon.
Wait.
Oh, go ahead. Should we get into the articles?
I was going to say, when you... No. I got to say, I make one more silly point.
Okay, let's go.
Before your Athens story. So I was having lunch with a client yesterday and they were talking about they go to India a couple times a year for business. Mm-hmm. And they were like, and I go to the Brooklyn of New Delhi.
Hell yeah. The Williamsburg of New Delhi.
I found that so funny.
I'm sure it was what
he specifically said Brooklyn.
Okay.
But now it started with an N. I can't remember what it was, but he was like, yeah, it's like 45 minutes to an hour with traffic. It's like near the main city. It's like a little cooler. It's like becoming a tech hub. Like all the young cool people there. Yeah, I made the same joke. I was like, are there natural wine shops? That is how we define
third wave coffee
Brooklyn-like
shops.
Place.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
First it was the third wave
vintage
coffee shops,
stores.
then it was the natural wine shops.
Yeah, you guys know what it is. Our listeners know what it is. All right, let's talk about the articles.
That's why Brooklyn is a global brand. Okay, fine.
Okay, that's why BKFI, just like LA Fitness, is going worldwide.
Brooklyn Lager, you can get that on every continent, I'm told.
First time I had it was at South by Southwest in Austin, and I was hooked, and ended up visiting the delicious beer. Okay, we've got 10 minutes in. We've got 5 articles this week. Your tooth is still out live on the
tooth.
Dear listener, AJ and I don't see each other very often anymore. Usually this podcast, if you couldn't tell, is our video journal of where we connect each week. And I have not seen her in 2 weeks, and her tooth is still out, apparently.
Tooth is still out.
I love you.
Yeah, my stupid dentist. It had to be out through Monday because my jaw was healing, my gums were healing. But then Monday I got the all clear from the surgeon to be like, okay, you can put something fake in there so you don't look crazy for a few months. Then I called my real dentist. Yeah, exactly. And I called my real dentist and he was like, yeah, I could see you Friday. I was like, bro, I don't have a flipping tooth. Like, you have no cancellations all week. And she was like, I'm sorry, like we're really full. And I found that very offensive and frustrating considering, I mean, it's a cosmetic dentist, so I would imagine a lot of people are there with like dental emergencies, but like you couldn't bump someone who had a teeth cleaning to like fix my face. Anyway, it's amazing that doctors and dentists get to dictate when you get to see them, and often it's at very far away times that are inconvenient for you.
It's a industry ripe for disruption, and I don't think One Medical, well, the dentistry, maybe the private equity will swing in here and fix dentistry.
Tend. Oh, they have already, and I think it's working. I think Tend is like a successful. Well, I don't know. Let's talk about Tend some other time. I'd love to do a deep dive.
Ariel, throw it on the list. Deep dive, dentistry, private equity. Dear listener, Ariel is our fantastic marketing and podcast. She's the magic behind the Liquidity Event. Okay, we've got 5 articles for you today. We're going to move a little bit quicker since we did a personal catch-up, which is honestly my favorite part of the podcast each week. We have Babylist approaches $1 billion in sales. This is obviously an AJ article. We have Inside the Hours when coders...
Why do you say
that? Anyway.
It's about an IPO.
We will get it, for sure. That might happen in 2027. Inside the Hours when coders...
That's what all the other articles are about IPOs that might happen in 2027. Why is this one any different?
They're doing $1 billion in sales, and Anthropic is doing $80 billion a month in sales. It's a bit of a
No, they're doing $2 billion a month. It's only 20 times their number of sales.
We will get into it. Inside the Hours when coders sort through the Claude Code leak, including Capybara, Mythos, and how a college student recreated it. Anthropic's Claude. The IRS wants smarter audits via Palantir. This is the most, I think, Brooklyn FI article ever posted. OpenAI closes a record-breaking $122 billion funding in anticipation of its IPO. Yes, AJ, $122 billion of funding as opposed to the $1 billion of sales happening at Babylist. Let's get into it. Inside a corporate retreat that went very badly wrong. If we have time to get to it, we have a very funny tech company that went on a retreat down to Honduras, and everybody got E. coli, and a Navy SEAL tried to kill somebody. And then we have a listener question, 2 of them actually this week. One of them is about a moving abroad. I think I can help.
We have to get to that one.
A bit. Yep.
I think we need to start with that, actually.
Okay, we'll start with that.
Let's start with that.
And then if we get to it, somebody tried to build their entire retirement plan with AI. I would love to dig into that as well, as somebody that has been talking to Claude 4 different terminals for 12 hours a day for a month. That is a dangerous proposition, my friend. It's not good at math. So let's dive in. AJ, do you want to let's start with the question, and then we'll go into the Babylist, and then we'll talk about I think we have to talk about open APIs, IPO, and we definitely have to talk about Palantir. So let's move fast because there's a lot of fun stuff in here. I think we'll skip the corporate retreat unless we have some fun to get to the end of it. So, okay, do you want to read the question, AJ? Yeah, you read the question. I've been talking
This was a voice note that I got on WhatsApp from a friend of the pod who lives in France. So I'm going to paraphrase a little bit.
Yep.
Considering the huge amount of numbers of Americans that are activating their dual citizenship options with Europe, specifically continental Europe and not the UK, blah, 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 Brexit. Now that there's people who have 401ks in the States and want to keep them while they're here, meaning abroad, that doesn't necessarily apply to them. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, wait, this is a little... Anyway, a lot of fiscal packages that are available to Europeans are barred to U.S. persons because they don't want that U.S. money, apparently, and they also don't want to answer to the U.S. government and the IRS. So, if you maintain a U.S. address, then you have access to certain things. And if you no longer have a U.S. address, that creates a lot of problems, like a bank having a bank account in the U.S., all that kind of stuff. So basically, what do you do as an American living abroad with dual citizenship? You want to save for retirement, but you're kind of in this limbo space between being a U.S. person still and filing taxes in the U.S., maybe still having an old 401k, but you live and you participate and you pay taxes in France, for example, but maybe you don't have access to all of the regular retirement accounts and investment vehicles that a full French citizen might have. What are your thoughts as an American living abroad-ish?
Yeah, a few things. One, as someone that lives abroad, happy to get into my personal stuff, anecdotal stuff, but as a former international tax expert, I can say a few things. One is that there are a list of treaties. Well, just even why this is a problem is that the 401k that you're referencing is a reference to article or Internal Revenue Code section 401k of subchapter J, I believe. And either way, all that to say that like it is a carve out from income. So if you've got money in your 401k, let's say you got $100,000 in there and it earns 10% interest, you get 10,000 of income. That's not taxable in the United States because it's carved out. Nothing in that 401k is taxable. But Article 401k or Section 401k is a U.S. article. So if you're in France and they're like, hey, you've got this article or you've got this investment account that made 10,000 of income, that's taxable here because that's income. We don't have a Section 401k in France, Russia, South Africa, wherever you are. So that should be taxable.
Wherever you're living.
Wherever you're living, yeah. But there is income tax treaties to save you from this thing because all of these countries have their own 401ks, so to speak. There's ISAs, IRAs, CCRA, like whatever it is. Canada has their own thing. So an income tax treaty allows
RSPs.
Yeah, whatever it is. And by the way, American CPAs or tax people don't study all those other ones. They just study the U.S. one. So you need a local CPA, so to speak, or chartered accountant or whatever they call them in France to help you with that version of the code. And usually you coordinate. So at BKFI, we have a ton of international folks that we coordinate with for our clients to make sure that on both ends of the spectrum, you're covered. So with that said, whenever you have a visa or you're legally working in a foreign country, and this person's a citizen, but I'm assuming, they're saying they're not getting access to the local accounts, which is, I'm not sure why. You should be able to participate if you do, and you could end up with a spattering. A lot of our clients have things in France, things in Australia. There's a lot of Commonwealth moving around. We have a lot of Palantir clients that got distributed across the Commonwealth countries, which is Canada, Australia, South Africa, a bit of Hong Kong before China took it back, and so you end up with like all those different rules and investment accounts, and then you get to a point of complexity where you're working with Big Four accounting firms that have offices in all of those places, and then you've got retirement professionals that also specialize in international stuff. I'm not sure if I answered any questions, AJ. Is there anything else you'd like to touch on?
Well, yeah, I think you touched on something interesting, which is, they're in France. There's this assurance vie. I probably said that wrong.
Yeah,
which is their kind of like tax efficient.
I'm
assuming it's somewhat analogous to an IRA.
Mm-hmm.
Now, to me, again, we're not experts on French specific, dual citizenship law, but it's generally my understanding that if you are paying taxes locally, it's a seesaw, right? So if you're paying the tax, you probably should have access to the government-sponsored retirement accounts. Just like in the UK, we have a ton of clients there who have these weird state-sponsored pensions from the 6 months they spent working in the UK. They get those pensions. They are entitled to them because they paid the tax. So if you're living in France and you're an American citizen, the US taxes you on global income, France taxes you on global income, both. You're not paying taxes twice. You're paying your taxes in France, and then you're getting a credit. You still have to file your U.S. tax return because you're a U.S. person. Congratulations, until you ever renounce your citizenship or die. That you're not paying double tax. So it's my understanding that if you're not contributing to a 401k, you don't earn any income in the U.S., you should have access to these French investment vehicles. I believe that's the case.
Yeah.
Look, what do you, this is sort of a related question. What do you think about moving money between countries? This comes up a lot, like, hey, I've got 50K in my US checking account. I don't know if I'm ever moving back here. I want to put a down payment, down on a house in Europe. How is it taxed when I take it out? And also, how do I transfer it? Like, do I use TransferWise? Like, how do I actually get the money?
Yeah, well, the banks have been an unfortunate intermediary for a long time, for hundreds of years in this regard, in terms of, because they just take a huge cut. TransferWise's whole approach is that we'll take a smaller cut, we'll have more balances in our accounts, and they'll make money off the float. And they have I've transferred, I think, at least 700,000. I bought a house in Mexico, so at least 700,000 USD to Mexico. It's probably cost me over $10,000-$20,000 just in transfer fees, unfortunately, but it was necessary. And so what I think about when it comes to, or what our investors, our clients should think about as well, is there's not a tax on that transfer. There is, a fee. The only tax that you can experience is if you actually cut your citizenship. There's an exit tax if you have more than $2 million and you try to sever your citizenship in the United States. there's an exit tax. And that happens a lot with accidental Americans that say had American parents or they were born here. I had a client that was born in the States, immediately moved to Italy, started a huge business there and was making like $20 million a year and didn't know they were American until, Americans saw their social security number and they did this, if you pay your taxes worldwide as an American for your entire life. So they came to them and said, hey, you've been an American for 70 years. You've been making $20 million a year. You owe us $100 million in taxes. And he was like, no, thanks. I didn't even speak English. So
it is not possible, as they would say in Italy.
Yes.
In Italy, it's my husband's famous line is like, hey, can we grab a drink at the bar that's completely open where no one's sitting? And they would just say, it is not possible. You're like, really? It looks kind of possible.
I would love to fly on a wall. You guys are going to Austria later this year, right? For a while?
Just not us guys. This gal is going to Austria on Friday by herself on a solo spirit quest.
Oh, okay, cool. You do love a solo spirit quest.
I love a solo.
There is a big
quest.
bathtub in your near future. Anyway, to tie
there are many bathtubs.
To tie the thread on this, which I didn't know we were going to do so much international tax today, which obviously I can talk about quite a bit. Think about the currency hedge as well, because the US dollar does shift in value versus other currencies occasionally. We are the global reserve currency, which gives us bargaining power and a lot of soft power around the world, but it does fluctuate in power. There was a super peso that happened while I was building my house or buying my house, where suddenly my dollars were less valuable in Mexico, but my house value was going up because I had purchased that. So, I'd get less when I buy here, but my house is worth more here. So if it ever shifts enough, you could always sell that house for much more dollars, and you have a bit of flexibility. So I think it's cool if you're fortunate enough to have that flexibility to have multiple currencies in your back pocket. It's a nice tool, and I endorse it.
Yeah. I mean, look, I think the hardest part about making a financial plan when you live abroad is, where am I going to be in 20 years when I take out this money from retirement, right? Like, we have a lot of clients who are, French citizens or Australian citizens who come here for work. They're on HB1 visas, or they're on a path to citizenship. They've got green cards, and they're like, should I contribute to my 401k? Like, I don't know if I'm going to be here in 20 years. So that unknown future makes the financial planning pretty complex. And I think what this person was also asking is hey, these French programs, they're great and you can access them as a French citizen, but like you were saying earlier, Shane, the US does not recognize them as tax advantaged accounts. So in some cases, you might not get the advantage. The advantage might be diminished significantly for a US person, which you are if you're a citizen. All to say, I think generally my take on all these accounts is look, you're a global citizen of the world. You have already complicated your life. Having a few extra accounts and having someone to help you out with it. The tax advantages of 401ks and a lot of these state sponsored, they're so good that often it makes sense to participate in them and then pay the tax later, especially if the money's growing tax-free, right? We talk a lot about 401k withdrawals, but as you alluded to, that money in that 401k is growing tax-free the whole time it's in there. Yes, you might pay ordinary income tax at the end, but for decades, potentially, it's compounding and doing its thing. Whereas that money in a regular brokerage account, just because it's quote unquote easier or less paperwork, there's a lot of drag there on that tax-free or that tax exposed
Deferred
money if it's not protected in a 401k. Thank you.
Yeah. You're reminding me of one last thing that I want to touch on, which is we mentioned the tax advantages in the United States. One of the major ones is a Roth, right? So if you take distributions from a Roth account, non-taxable in the United States, if you move to a country, we don't have income tax treaties with every country, right? We don't have income tax treaties with Iran, for example, to circle back. So if you're in
well, I think we did 18 days ago.
I think we did it in 1969, and then I think some people in Langley got involved. Anyway, so the old revolution joke. I think India didn't have a treaty with us specifically around Roth IRAs at some point. So those are tax-free on distribution, but not if you're in a country that does not recognize an income tax treaty with the United States. So if you're fortunate enough to have a bunch of money in a Roth IRA and live abroad, you are probably also fortunate enough to hire a CPA or an international tax expert or BKFI to help you navigate that retirement aspect of that. So yeah. Cool. International tax.
Great listener question.
Let's go.
Love.
Okay.
Doesn't it make you want to go work at an accounting firm again?
I
What?
kind of work at an accounting firm. We have an accounting firm.
No, I mean, I meant like a Big Four.
A
I
pure?
meant like,
No,
yeah.
I'm never working by the hour ever again. Thank the Lord. All right. Babylist approaches $1 billion in sales as it eyes an IPO in 2027. This is a cool article about a very profitable baby company, Babylist. I never heard of it. I imagine, AJ, you have 2 baby showers coming up, so it came across your radar as you were doing your research. But this has been a profitable company for 8 years straight, and its sales doubled in 2025, and it's looking at an IPO. Babies R Us went under. Some other more traditional companies went under. They're working with affluent, older Americans that are having babies, which are most Americans that are having babies, including my co-host today. So they have more discretionary income as compared to earlier generations. AJ, tell me what your thoughts are on the Babylist IPO.
This was interesting to me because it reminds me of an IPO that we saw. Of course, now I can't remember. Oh, Zola. Remember Zola?
Yeah.
That IPO a couple of years ago. And it's a similar product, right? It's just a website. It's just a marketplace. So it works sort of like, it's basically Target with a fantastic wedding registry, but it's for babies. So when you have a baby, you click through and you say, hey, I need this fancy crib and I need this stupid rocker and I need these stupid toys and books and whatever. And, your family and loved ones want to contribute to the raising of your child. So they buy you all this shit, right? And Babylist has come to the top. There used to be a bunch of them, but a lot of them, as you said, have fallen to the wayside or gone out of business or just, aren't popular anymore. And Babylist is the place. So they are taking a cut of all of this merchandise is flowing through them. They have as I understand it, it's not an inventory play. It's not like a giant warehouse full of stuff. They have some branded merchandise, but a lot of it, it's just they're basically like influencer marketing, but they're not an influencer. They're just more of a platform. And I've heard not a lot. I've heard from two different newsletter writers that I know that have 20,000 followers on Substack. They're doing partnerships with Babylist. So it's like this, it's one to watch is all I'm saying. And I love the fact that it's sort of retail, but it's not. There's not actual product. And we just saw the news that Allbirds, I think, called it quits. Of they got delisted. The company just went from I don't know, it was a 50-something billion dollar valuation to getting sold for $200 million. And that's because that's inventory. That's physical product, which is really hard. You have to keep innovating, you have to keep finding new customers, whereas people are going to keep having babies and people are going to keep buying them shit. So as the trends move and as things progress, you're still going to need a baby registry. So I just thought it was very interesting that it was getting this coverage. And when we see PR pieces like this, to me, it's always a good sign that an IPO is coming. So
it seems like a really well-run company. They've only raised only raised $40 million. They didn't go public in 2021 when everyone else rushed out the door. They stopped and they waited. And while the technical aspects of the company might not be, perhaps could be vibe coded, some might say, there's maybe not potentially a moat. There is distribution. Like you said, all these people on Substack are already distributing. So they're the first there.
And there's
they
trust.
Right. They've been around close to 10 years.
Yeah. I think it's the trust that, right? It's the name brand thing. It's I trust Etsy because of the seller guarantee, and I trust this platform because I that they're a good company, and people get very emotional around children and buying stuff and making sure that it's organic or whatever. So I think having a well-run company has a decade or more of trust built in, I think is going to make them a solid IPO. Hopefully next year. That'd be great.
Yeah, that'd be great. The older I get, the more I want my companies to be profitable. So shout out to Babylist for being ready to rock. Okay, very quick. I think we have two.
What's the Silicon Valley line? Sorry, or it's you don't want to show revenue. What are you, an idiot? You have to be pre-revenue?
Yes, if you're going to raise,
we should do a podcast where we just rewatch that show.
It predicted so much. I mean, the Google launched. RAM prices are coming down, thank God, after the AI blitz, because somebody at Google discovered an algorithm to reduce the use of RAM, just like Pied Piper did. It's been fantastic to
Which
watch
is
the
Pied
memes.
Piper, right? Yeah.
Right. It's the classic middle out algorithm. Yeah. And then we won't get into the finale where
And the
they
AI
do
deleting. Yeah.
yeah. If you know, you know. This we'll keep a rare G rating for this week's podcast. Well, cool. I think we can call it this week, AJ. I think that's 30 minutes. I want to get into the IRS smart audits. I think we can save that for next week. That's a certified banger, but it's not timely. And then we can, the IPOs of OpenAI are covered on every other podcast in America. So if it's cool with you, I think we can read ourselves out. Thank you so much for listening. Email us your financial problems at liquidityevent@brooklynfi.com. And we will apparently spend 15 minutes talking about international tax if you do that. And finally, you Stans can leave us a review if you want to be weird about it. Thanks, y'all.